Hi!
This is the post-BookCon tired shimmy.
I have to just grab the frickin'
Sorry.
Hi!
Friends. It has been a hot minute since we filmed a video together because real life, you know, things get in the way. But we just got back from the last day of BookCon. I was not able to attend BookExpo this year, but Macky was, and he was very, very efficient. But I did get to go to BookCon, and that was fun. That was the past 2 days. We're a little exhausted, so please excuse,
No, of course not.
Anyway, we wanted to share, as always, our BookExpo/BookCon haul because we like sharing books and we are excited about so many of these titles. So this video is going to be divided into a couple of parts. By now you'd have seen, by the way, our coverage of everything. So yeah, whatever we have, you'll see it. Everything from Blogbound to a little bit of the novelty to some of the floor shots to, you know, stuff like that. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Now we're gonna divide the video, the haul parts, into 3 parts.
Thereabouts. Alexa and I have different segments, and given that I got most of the books for the blog, and you know, Alexa was only able to attend for BookCon itself.
Sorry.
And you could totally just do BookCon like you're like whales, like taking in plankton and taking just merch and swag just everywhere you go, and have like 80 billion buttons at the end of the day.
Or temporary tattoos.
Or temporary tattoos. Shout out to all of the shadow hunters we saw walking around ruined up. Good job, guys. I figured I'd just start with just some random stuff that I either bought or whatever. Starting with this really cute. Well, the tote. There's a lot of totes that get handed.
There's a lot of totes.
There's totes.
I'm so proud.
I was actually gonna avoid doing that, but living with me has turned her into this, so I would claim full responsibility, but I don't like to. So this is my favorite one. It's for obvious reasons. I think it's cheeky, and I've used these for the last, you know, kind of 2-3 days of hauling books back and forth from the Javits Center to home. It's got it'll hold like a ton of books, and so that's my favorite tote of the entire haul. There are some advanced kind of samplers. I only ended up taking this Map of Days piece because it just drew me like a fly, and then I realized, you know, oh well, it's kind of a thing. And I did get a photo at the booth, which is awesome too. And then I won one of those, there was like a little carnival thing where you like throw a ball at whatever, and I won a sampler for Novice, more on that later, and a bunch of cards, which I'm so excited to.
Trading cards or something, right?
Yeah, it's a Summoner level 10, rank cadet, demon type, cool, and demon,
cool.
Othello and Solomon. So I think it's trading cards for the characters, which I have grown to love.
Cool.
And half off totally at the Pathfinder booth. Well, no, it not the Pathfinder like section of one of the booths. I was able to get for absolutely half price off the beginner's box of Pathfinder. The Advanced Player's Guide, and the Game Mastery Guide, and some flippable flip mat tiles thing on the front.
That's cool.
Random blue greenish tundra, and in the back, sounds like a mullet illusion, doesn't it?
Sorry, the random
tundra in the front, desert in the back. I don't even know what kind of hairstyle that's going to be, but I'm sort of on an RPG kick these days. Just, I mean, I've been doing homebrews for the last few years, but I just want to like learn the real stuff, that everything's based stuff. You know, kind of like a street musician going to music school for the first time. Short shout out to Laura, who gave me a bookmark online. For those of you who follow her channel and her Instagram, she's been making bookmarks, and this one is a quote from the Battle of the Labyrinth, where it says, "Don't feel
sad." I think
sad.
That's what I was supposed to say. Yeah,
don't feel sad. I'm usually about to die. So that's kind of funny, and I love that there's like a sword at the kind of bottom there. That was kind of cool. So thanks, Laura, for that. And I finally got 3 notebooks. I don't do notebooks much, but when I do, they're awesome. Sounds like that other meme. Need I say more?
I like that the back.
It's the embossed Serenity, and from the back
it says you can't take
the sky from me. So thanks to that, Mr. Reynolds. I had a Supernatural notebook that I bought at Comic-Con, but this is the John Winchester version.
Cool.
With, I assume, is a Devil's Trap. And the other Supernatural notebook had like a silver, I forget what they're called, but it's the one where demons can't possess you if you're tattooed with it.
I'm not very familiar with it.
And I have been eyeing this since last year. I only, for whatever reason, only got it now.
Of course.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in the seeming of the book that Giles gives Buffy in episode 1, Vampire. It's blank, and I plan to use these for the campaigns. So these are gonna be
that's what you're gonna use.
And it's like a tome and another tome. Cool. It's really cool. Okay, that ends the swag piece of my bit. Alexa, what do you got?
Macky bought all those notebooks, so I figured I may as well just show the one that he got for me. It is a Hufflepuff notebook. It is not a hardcover, but it has a nice leather cover. It feels really good. And the end paper is so cute. Look at that. It's all Hufflepuff pride. Clearly, I'm not dressed as a Hufflepuff today, but I am a Hufflepuff, so. And then my friend Brittany, who runs the candle shop Novelly Yours, was walking around and she had a couple of sample candles with her, and it's a bookworm candle. It smells like crisp apple, blood orange, and green tea. Which, like, first of all, the color is amazing. Second of all, this smells so nice. It's like soothing.
Oh, wow.
It's like potpourri. That's what I would like to say. Like the good kind, by the way, not the overwhelmingly floral kind. I had gotten this tote bag at the Fierce Reads Macmillan Happy Hour, and on the front it's cute because it says, "My favorite author said to me," and there are all these speech bubbles and you can write on it, which is really cool. In that tote bag there were a bunch of pins. These are very cute. They say YA and slay, no regrets, and treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
I know. And then there is this dog tag style necklace. It says, "You're stronger than you think." I don't think you guys can see it because it's like too light, but it's really cool. And then I'm sorry, I just really love this quote card. It says, "You can lit with us." Okay. It's great. There is also this poster for Children of Blood and Bone.
I need to read that.
By Tommy. I do too, actually. I love the quote though. "They killed my mother, they took our magic, they tried to bury us, now we rise," which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about this. So there was this poster rolled up in it, and it's the Renegades poster. Renegades is a book by Marissa Meyer. The sequel, Arch Enemies, is coming out this year, and I am just so friggin' excited. I love that it shows them as their normal selves, and then their superhero equivalents are on it, so it's great. The illustration's beautiful. Okay, and then I also went to the novel for a tea they did, and I got this bag that says "Booked all week," which I love. I actually have one of these. So
I know, it's like,
I'm lucky enough to have
looks
another
so familiar.
one. And on the floor I met Clarabelle Ortega, who is the author of the upcoming middle grade Ghost Squad. So she gave me this pin, which is really cool. Ghost Squad is basically Coco meets the Goonies.
Done.
And it sounds flippin' fantastic. It is out next fall, I want to say, but we should be getting a cover soon, and I'm very excited about that. And I think that is it for all my swag. Okay,
so now for the middle grade haul. I'm gonna start with the fantasy ones. So I have 4 fantasy middle grade books. Begone the Raggedy Witches.
That cover is so cute.
I know, it's lovely. And it's, you know, where the witches kidnap her dad, Mupp is swept up in a wild tide of magic that carries her to another world. So, Portal Story with witches, done. And then the Turnaway Girls.
Also a beautiful cover.
Also a beautiful cover. And Delphina Undersea wants to sing, but everyone in Blightsend knows music belongs to the masters, and girls with singing throats are swallowed by the sea.
Wow.
Done.
Also sounds really fun.
This one, see, The House with Chicken Legs. I'm secretly hoping this is a Baba Yaga story, if you notice the chicken legs on the house. But my house has chicken legs 2 or 3 times a year without warning. It stands up in the middle of the night and walks away from where we've been living. So I don't know if the Baba Yaga got busy or adopted a child. Whatever.
Maybe her house had it.
Maybe her house had a child. We'll never know. And they'll have. And then Dactyl Hill Squad, which I think is pretty cool.
It's dinosaurs.
It's dinosaurs, and so by Daniel Jose Older, and it's 1863, and dinosaurs roam the streets of New York City as civil war rages between raptor-mounted armies down the south. So this is historical. It's fiction, historical science fiction.
It's a Civil War dinosaur.
It's a Civil War dinosaur book. I can't even. And so it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, and plus points for all of the POCs that are like front row and bloody center, which is amazing. I can't even with how amazing that is. I know. So these are lovely and fun. The rest, for whatever reason, I got. They were all absolutely just contemporary, and so. Very quickly, I just want to go through the first few. So this is, hey kiddo, How I Lost My Mother to How I Lost My Mother, Found My Father, and Dealt with Family Addiction. Very heavy stuff already. Rules of the Rough. Just the cover, it's a bunch of dogs. So, girl learns to walk dogs and walk tall in this charming middle grade novel.
There's a corgi on the back.
How can you... Oh, there's a corgi on the back. How can you... I just picked it up and I thought this is at least going to be a light read. I got some really heavy books this year, so I really want to kind of balance this out. And then The Lottery, more or less. I think this is a second book. And again, it's about the fifth of 7 siblings who share a big house, and they're 4 parents, grandfather, and 5 pets. And it's just obviously one of those things where you want to survive. I think the first book is The Lottery's +1. And so it's one of those giant family things.
Cute. It sounds like right? Cheaper by the dozen almost.
It does, right? And then, okay, so this is Wonderland, my next book. 3 characters and their friendships and how their lives sort of play out. So it's one of those, I think, summer of friendship type deals. This I snagged from the Disney booth. It's called Beatrice Zinker, Upside Down Thinker. So I think this is probably the first book in a series of shenanigans where she flips everything up and then unfortunately gives the wrong award to the wrong teacher, and hilarity or tragedy ensues. I don't know what that means or thinks, but I think it's just kind of cool with Beatrice kind of upside down there. It's kind of cool.
I like the cover.
Her cartwheeling in the back. I do like the cover as well. It's Disney Hyperion, so it's worth a shot. And then we have You Don't Know Everything, Jilly P. I did read that right, Jilly P. Which reminded me of a friend of mine who is named Jill. And
actually, she's also Jill.
She's also P. Oh my god, that is true. That is true.
Sorry,
So,
I was like, I stopped and I was like, huh.
Yeah, I mean, her name's Jillian, and her last name also starts with a P. So, but it's another one of those books that is again middle grade contemporary that involves ASL, which is a lot like Charlie and Frog that I read earlier on. And so I thought this was great that I'm seeing more books, at least new ones, written with ASL, characters that are people with disabilities. And then Someone Else's Shoes.
I like that cover.
So Izzy's 12 and she's a budding comedian. Hard stop. I love comedy. And whatever kind of crazy issues that Izzy might possibly go through, I'm happy to just figure out and follow along. Okay, the last 2 of my middle grade haul are signed by the author, so I was able to get a lovely chance to kind of line up and whatever. Cool. The first of which is Zora and Me, The Curse and the Cursed Ground. So it's a riveting fictionalized account of Zora Neale Hurston's childhood adventures. And it explores the idea of collective memory and the lingering effects of slavery. So I was able to meet, so I was able to meet T.R. Simon at the signing. I'm really excited for this book because of the awareness that it'll obviously promote to, and a different light that will be shed on the past and fiction. And I felt this with the Jumbies series, right? Although that's a totally different part of the world and what slavery did there. But this one being based in the U.S., I think is very, very important and very, very excited to see what happens in this one. And then The Backstagers and The Ghost Light by Andy Mientis. So I was able to line up for Andy like the end of the day. It was really good, but I think it's totally worth it because it's about a stage crew. It's about a bunch of kids who are, and that's how we met. Alexa was stage crew and I was directing a show. That there is a child with a Ouija board. I don't know how desperate this show is or how quirky this cast of characters are.
I think that's actually based on a graphic novel that has the same name, I want to say. I think.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure. It's like a novel based on the graphic novel series.
Right. Well, there is illustrations, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, my turn. This is basically all the books I was lucky enough to get myself when I went to a couple of different things I was invited to. So one of the first things I got to do this Book Expo week was attend a tea over at the Novel, and they are a pretty great team. It was such a fun tea. They did like an editor speed dating thing, and then we also got to see Laini Taylor and Ellie Blake. So I was lucky enough to meet Ellie Blake and get my copy of Frostblood signed. I want to say, ta-da! And I also got an arc of Abusive Nightmares by Laini Taylor, which is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, also signed, which is a beautiful arc, and I'm so excited to back-to-back read the 2 books. And then I also got invited to go to a happy hour with Macmillan, Fierce Reads, and that was really fun too. They had a goodie bag with a couple of things in it. So one of the things is a sampler for Tilly Walden's new book, On a Sunbeam, and it's just pretty. It's I think it's a sci-fi type story with 2 timelines, and like there's a love story in there too.
Yeah.
And then we have a copy of. This cover is incredible, by the way. It's Boneless Mercies, and this is basically about a bunch of trained warriors, I want to say, and they have grown up learning how to kill beasts, I want to say. Basically it's a gender-flipped retelling of Beowulf. That's what it is. So it should be really good. I also got a book that I hadn't heard about before.
Squirrel!
It's called Unclaimed Baggage by Jen Dahl, and it says, life can be heavy, learn to travel light. And it's about 3 teenagers, and they spend the summer working at a place that sorts out lost luggage, which I think is such an interesting idea. They're also dealing with things of their own, obviously, so I'm very curious to see how this plays out. Also, I don't understand why there's a squirrel, but you know, I'm not opposed to it.
Squirrel!
And the book I was like super excited about having inside my tote bag was Blanca and Roja by Anna Marie McLemore. If you guys don't already know, I love Anna Marie McLemore. I have read every single one of her books and love them. My favorite is still The Weight of Feathers. That is her debut novel, and it is amazing. This one is also exciting to me because it's supposed to be sort of more fairy tale-ish than the others. Anna Marie basically writes a lot of magical realism. All of her novels have had a magical realism spin to them. So this one it's about 2 sisters. First of all, that was literally enough for me to be like,
oh, Blanca and Roja, white and red, 2 sisters.
They're sisters, and they're also rivals because they're complete opposites, obviously. It's like, I think it's supposed to be inspired by Snow White and Rose Red. I could be wrong. But yeah, it sounds amazing. I don't even know, and I didn't even need to know what it was about, honestly, because it's Anna Marie, and I was just like, I'm just gonna read this.
Done and sold.
And I got the prettiest sampler ever, again, this year. Once again, winning the sampler game. King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Look how shiny.
Wasn't Lee's sampler last year also pretty?
Yes, Language of Thorns. It was gorgeous. I don't know if I'm gonna read it because I don't want to read it.
Yeah, you're just gonna want to not like die.
Plus, it's about my favorite character in her Grishaverse world. I'm sorry, I have a lot of feelings about that. But yeah, those are all the things I got there. And then the last thing I'm gonna show you something Macky actually got for me. I think a BookCon, I want to say.
Also at half price.
It's amazing. It is this 2-in-1 manga. On one side it says Belle's Tale, and on the other side it says The Beast's Tale, and it's beautifully illustrated. I'm so excited about that and putting it on my bookshelf. Kristen actually has these, and I almost bought it before, so I'm glad I waited because I might end up getting it at a pretty good price.
Absolutely. All right, so speaking of graphic novels, we're going to start there because I do have a very small but very cool graphic novel haul. Anyway, Party. Flowers, Sex, Robbery, Volume 1. So I would like to understand what this is all about. And then I have, Beck.
Creepiest.
I know, Black-Eyed Kids. It's just the right, so Garth Ennis, one of my favorite writers in the comics world, says, Joe Pert's Black-Eyed Kids is just the right kind of creepy, a nice slice of modern horror from an underrated talent. So he shall not seem to be underrated in this house, I think. So this is gonna be fun. It's volume 1, so I may end up grabbing the rest. I know it's amazing. Of course, I thought that was cool. Okay, Norway, book 1 of the Black Bull of Norway. Fantasy, I would like to think. Yeah, excited to see what that's all about. Lost Soul, Be at Peace. So it looks like a modern kind of ghost retelling. So I don't know if it's just one of those things where there's actual kind of supernatural realism. Yes, maybe. I totally made that up, like by fantasy, you know, magical realism, supernatural.
It's like a middle grade noir.
Gosh, yeah. And so, or if it's really just like they're haunted by like their own past or whatever. And finally I was able to get a copy of Illegal, oddly enough written by Eowyn Colfer and Andrew Duncan. I think Andrew was the one who was at this, who was at the signing. But it's about a bunch of refugees trying to flee.
That's really sad.
I know, and so like I said, I got a lot of heavy stuff this year, so it'd be nice to balance that out. Which leads me to, since technically these graphic novels, I believe, lean towards YA and adult. So since a lot of these kind of graphic novels sort of lean towards young adult to adult, we'll segue straight into that. And we just want to blitz through them really, really quick. So I want to start with Girl King, written by Mimi Yu. So she was at the signing.
So exciting.
I know, it sounds really, really exciting. Just the cover alone, it says, One empire, 2 princesses, a war that could tear the world apart.
Bum, bum, bum.
Immediately sold. Scott Westerfeld, Imposters, and it's a story about 2 sisters one of which the world does not know exists, whilst the other one is the only one of, you know, that's there, but of course they know that they exist. Well, because the other one is the body double and also an assassin. So cool. That's kind of really, really cool. And so I really wanted to grab that.
That one is set in the same world as the Ugly series, I think.
Ooh, I didn't know that. Well, that's kind of cool. Okay, and then we move on to the YA Contemporary Haul, which I didn't even realize I had so many. Hearts Unbroken is going to be a very interesting read because it touches on prejudice, because I think our main character has some Native American roots, and that sort of comes into play as with her life, her love life, all of that stuff. So I kind of like how that's going to go.
I like the cover too.
I know, it's kind of cool. And then Other Wood, I don't know if it's really contemporary or if there's going to be some weird supernatural twist to it, but it does involve you know, family secrets, and like the grandfather who may or may not necessarily be losing his memory, and it centers around it before he died or something like that, right? And it's about a boy named Stewie who's gonna figure all of that out. Nobody Real by Stephen Camden. It's one of those stories where there's a girl who sort of just is like the tag along to all of her friends, and it's now up to Marcy, which is the girl, to figure out, am I going to keep doing this, or am I going to find my own reality, my own identity? So there's that. And now for the heavier-ish stuff. So That's Not What Happened involves you know, the lives of a bunch of students who were survivors of an active shooter at school, and for them to sort of begin to recover from that is going to be very, very difficult. So unfortunately, always timely, these kinds of stories, and now at least now they're being told, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, Jennifer Nielsen, Resistance occurs.
Like
it's another one of those kind of World War II stories in Nazi-occupied Poland. I review these because World War II holds a specific place in my life, in my childhood. My dad used to love reading about World War II, so I kind of got into it. And there are a lot of lessons that you learn from these things, and just you know, where it becomes so real. And so I want to see how these young people survive yet again oppression. Dear Evan Hansen, Evan actually goes through a pretty rough time, you know, just as a kid, and then uses a situation. And for those of you not familiar with the story, uses the death of a batchmate, a classmate, to sort of his advantage unwittingly, by saying he and that batchmate were friends, when the friend's parents unwittingly find a letter that he writes to himself for, you know, mental health, and thinks that their son wrote it to Evan. And so I was able to meet the authors. That was great. And now we have the novel version of the Broadway musical hit, Dear Evan Hansen.
It's really good music.
And then, so the last of the YA haul that I have, and so these are Novice, Inquisitor, and Battle Mage, which it's fun. So I have grown attached to these characters. I kind of really, really love them, and I'm so glad that I have them, and that I waited for the soft covers. So this is going to be the last of my haul before I go into my books that I'm going to read right away, and then Alexa's going to do hers, and then the things that she wants to read. Okay, cool. So audiobook for it's called The Other Woman, and how this woman who's getting married has a fiance who might or maybe be dating somebody else or seeing somebody else, and she is going to stop at nothing until she is the only one. So it's one of those weird kind of Melrose Placey kind of things. Okay, so it's the only non-fiction book that I sort of got is called Rage Becomes Her. They're promoting it, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I would love to read about that, and how basically it's a bunch of stories from a bunch of women who want to kind of change the way we think about how, you know, you want to be prim and proper and not be angry and stuff like that. But in fact, rage and the channeling of it can be very, very useful. And so it's a paradigm shift. It's pretty, well, you know, empowering, I suppose, and constructive in that sense, where, you know, you can't avoid feeling all of these things, especially if the situation calls for it. So I'm really excited to read about that. And then City of Devils, The Two Men Who Ruled the Underworld of Old Shanghai by Paul French. So also historical, I guess, and more of an account really than anything else. Bit of history. Honestly, I don't know why I got this, because it just looked really interesting. Because you'll be surprised.
Underworld.
I know, it's the seedy underworld. I'm like, all right, I'll read what that underworld is like. Okay, now for the, and then another one of the kind of, I want to say nonfiction.
I like how you thought you only had one nonfic.
I know.
This is like the third one now.
This is a third one now. It's called Tragedy Plus Time, a tragicomic memoir by Adam Caton Holland. So, again, I was kind of sales talked into just really grab one, everybody loves it, and so it seems like a funny, one of those coming of age tales of just growing up with terrible things with a comedic twist, and so I thought, okay, I'll give that a shot. Okay, now actual fiction. Starting with The Prophet Calls, which is one of those polygamous cults that is prevalent, kind of, I guess I want to say, in certain parts of the United States, and one girl's escaped from it. So that's gonna be scary.
That cover though.
I know, it's just really terrible. Okay, The Echo Room, which I think somebody handed to me because
That one.
I forget who handed it to me, and they're like, I don't even know why I picked this up, and I said, "Oh, give me."
Pretty sure that one's YA though.
Is it? Yeah. Well, it's not
toward teen, dude.
Oh, does it? Well, shoot. Well, it does involve. Well, I just don't know that teens are the ones who imprisoned somebody, and then. Well, no. The story is basically that there are two people who think that they escaped a place, but actually when their memories start to come back, they may start remembering that they imprisoned someone and not really escaped from it.
Oh, they're imprisoning themselves to escape whoever or whatever it is.
Yeah, or whatever that is. So I thought, yeah, I'll take that. And then What We Buried. Again, also YA, family drama. People who are like, oh my god, I'm on the road.
You really do have a thing for thrillers.
I know, it's weird. I mean, like last year at a BA, I was able to get this thriller about like a couple in a cult.
Oh yeah.
The Marriage Pact, and that was kind of cool because like a few weeks later, I saw it at the after I'd reviewed it, I actually saw it at the library. So I'm like, I saw that book beforehand, and so it's about a bunch of kids. Well, they're grown-ups now trying to escape their family secrets. And then lastly,
I feel like this is the one you're most excited about.
This is the one I'm most excited about, and so it'll be like second string tier. It's called The Voodoo Killings by Christy, I want to say Cherish. And introducing Kincaid Strange, not your average voodoo practitioner. I'm like, all right, okay, let's let her in and see what she's got. And so
I like that cover too.
I know, me too. So this is going to be really, really fun to read. That ends my young adult and adult haul, and then you're gonna see now all of the books that most of these books that I like to show you are the ones that I kind of ran around the floor for.
Honestly, they're not in any order, and my friends are. First of all, I have amazing friends, and Macky was amazing as well. He managed to get quite a lot of things. First is something my friend Lily was able to pick up for me. She got me The Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell, which is a massively heavy book. It is the follow-up to last year's The Last Magician, which I really liked. As I mentioned in last year's review, it was kind of that story where it's a very immersive world.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And if you stop reading it, it's kind of hard to get back into it, but if you're in it, you're in it. It's about a girl named Esta, and she basically travels back in time to steal this artifact in order to stop all of the magic users from being imprisoned in New York. And I'm so excited to see the sequel because of the things that happened at the end of the first one. Today, the last day of BookCon, I actually came in because I wanted to be at a signing for someone I really love. This is The Art of Losing by Lizzie Mason, and it is the story of a girl named Harley whose life changes completely when she finds out that her younger sister is hooking up with her boyfriend, and then the younger sister and the boyfriend get into an accident, and she now has to make peace with the accident, the fact that her ex is kind of an alcoholic, and she also reconnects with someone who just got out of rehab. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty heavy story, but I am very much looking forward to reading it. Forgot to mention, this one is signed because I came in for the signing. Ta-da! And then Macky was able to swing by this signing and get this arc, and this is Imprison the Sky by A.C. Goggin. This is the second book in the Elemente series, and this is about a completely different character than the first book.
From Rain the Earth,
yes, yeah. Which I read earlier this year and loved. Rain the Earth is about a desert princess who ends up marrying the king of this conquering kingdom, and it turns out that he's kind of messed up. So a lot of
Aren't they all who want to conquer?
I would also just say trigger warning for that book because I don't know about this one, obviously, because I haven't read it, but it's about a different character completely, same world, but this character has been using her elemental powers to help you know, rescue women, children, and other
That's lovely.
elements. But really, her main goal is to find her own siblings before the leader of the country that she's currently in gets his hands, I think, on them. I'm not sure if it's Calyx or not, but who knows. I'm just really excited about this. This one is also signed, I want to say, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Ta-da.
Yeah.
It says
nice.
Unleash the Storm.
Ooh, that was fun.
Macky also picked up this book for me, and I'm glad because I really wanted to try one of the books in this. It's called Twisted Tales. That is the series from Disney, and they've done, I think, 3 or 4 now. This one is about Ursula, which, like, sign me up. Part of Your World by Liz Braswell, and it is basically a what-if story where Ariel did not win and Ursula did instead, and what would happen. So, honestly, here for it. The next book is one that Macky was able to pick up as well, Mirage by Samaya Dodd, and this is basically about a girl who gets kidnapped because she looks like the princess of this kingdom, and she's gonna be used as the double, so that just in case this princess, like, there's an assassination attempt on her life, she's not gonna die.
Oh, okay, that's terrible.
So that's obviously like the least great situation you could be in. I can't word, guys, but yeah,
she's a
it's
live
really
model
good.
decoy.
Basically. And then Macky lined up for me, and I was so excited because I was really looking forward to this one. It's Escaping from Houdini by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the 3rd book in her series. The first one is Stalking Jack the Ripper, and the second is Hunting Prince Dracula. Both stories revolve around a character named Audrey Wadsworth, and she is unconventional for her time because she's interested in forensics. So in the first one, she and Thomas Cresswell are trying to work together in order to figure out the identity of Jack the Ripper. In the second one, they're working together when they go off to study at a forensic school. They're working together to figure out who this Dracula impersonator is. And in this 3rd one, they're traveling to New York, which I'm like, I'm here for this, obviously. And it's also signed. I know I missed Carrie this year, which I was really sad about, but I'm happy I have the book and I cannot wait to read it. And then we have, oh, Macky was nice enough to line up and get the actual book because I had to run off and do something else during BookCon. And DJ, my friend, is the nice person who had a ticket and gave it to me instead.
Yay.
Macky loves this other series. I have read Uprooted and really like that one. So we have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is sort of more similar to Uprooted, where it's more fairy tale based. It is basically a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. And
I heard Rumpelstiltskin. I'm like,
he signed it to both of us, which is really cool.
yeah, well, only because I just really love Naomi Novik, and
I know, right?
I told her, like, I was 7 books into her Temeraire series, and that I'm only reading historical fiction if there are dragons in it. And she's like, so few things cannot be improved by adding dragons. And I'm like, that's true for dragon fans.
She has an
obviously.
impressive body of work.
And she's amazing, so I just love the way she writes.
And then, fun story. So, on Thursday, I couldn't be at BookExpo, but there was a book I really wanted. And I told Macky too, I was like, you know, it's okay if you don't get it because there's only so many books. He was literally the last person in this line.
They cut everybody else off from behind me. It was insane.
We were still kind of like, oh, that's risky being the last person. You
Yeah,
never
because
know
people
what's
could
gonna
like
happen.
be let in,
And,
but
like, all
no.
that. But he was able to get it, and it's a copy of The Last Life of Prince Alistair by Alexander Bracken, and this is the sequel to last year's The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding, and I'm very excited. The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding basically introduces you to a world where there's a demon who is trapped in a boy and has been for many years, and there's suddenly this tumultuous thing going on in the underworld, and they have to work together in order to save the day. And this is part 2 of that adventure, basically. And I don't normally like green, guys, but like this cover is just...
No, this cover's cool. I like it.
Also signed, right? Ooh, that's a pretty front. Oh, there it is. Ta-da, it's signed too, which is amazing. That's it for me right now, and then we're now going to go to...
Oh, so of all of these hauls on
The
both
exciting
sides,
stuff.
these are the ones that we're definitely going to get first. Well, one of the first ones I'm going to read is Nomad by James Swallow. And it's about a deadly, it involves MI6, and there's like a virus, and people were forced to go on the run, and I'm just like, that sounds great. It sounds like an action movie, and apparently I like action movies when I have to read them.
Not when you
Not when I have to watch them, and I'm just like there, like fast forward to here, I can kind of skim and figure stuff out.
I'm gonna show you the massive thing that I could probably kill people with if I tried hard enough.
That's true. Everybody's been talking about this book, not just because it's awesome, but because you could kill people with it.
Seriously. This is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon.
Which is heavier than Alexa's head.
Is massive. I have seen tweets from people where they got flagged by TSA because it's just that gigantic. I mean, look at it. Anyway, the tagline on the front says, "A world divided, a queendom without an heir, and an ancient enemy awakens." And there are a bunch of point of views in this one. There's a queen who is, what do you call this? She has to protect like her future by and she has to have a daughter in order to like have her line carry on. And there's someone who's trying to protect her. And there's like, oh, there's just so many things going on. And honestly, the only thing I care about is that A, it's by Samantha Shannon, who I love. B, it's got dragons in it, which like, again, as Naomi Novik says, there's really not much that can't be improved with the presence of a dragon. So yeah, I'm so excited to get to this, even though it is a massive brick that is literally the size of my face.
Okay, this next book is called We Sold Our Souls. It's a story about a girl who was a rock star of varying, you know, of really, really great fame. And then just suddenly her life just takes a nosedive. But things, you know, start to turn around for her when she realizes that the reason why they were so successful back in the day was because one of their band members sold their souls. And how she has to undo that. And this is by Grady Hendrix, who I had a chance to meet. He was also the one who wrote My Best Friend's Exorcism. He signed this one. And the ridiculous thing is that he asked me what my band name was, if I had one. And like an idiot, I panicked and said, of course I had a band. Like, why would I admit that? Why am I admitting it now? And he said, so what's the name of your band? I'm like, Platform 9 3/4. That's real. I did have a band in senior year. And he wrote it out to to me and said, Platform 9 3/4 will rock forever in Valhalla.
I mean,
we weren't even a classic rock band. I wish we were. It's funny to me now because it's terrible. So I'm definitely bumping this up the list.
Okay, the next one involved a lot of lining up. Macky had to line up for the thing in the morning, and then I had to show up in the afternoon and line up for the other thing. But I got my hands on a copy of The Darkest Legacy by Alexandra Bracken.
Hurrah.
And this was one of the 100 proofs that were given out on Friday. And this is an early copy of Zoo from the Darkest Mind series story. This is a couple of years after the events, and she is doing her best to serve as sort of like a voice for the Psy kids who are in the camps. But then she gets framed for something, and so she has to prove her innocence. And oh my god, I cannot tell you guys how excited I am about this. This comes out the week of the week right before my birthday and right before the movie comes out. So this is very exciting. This one is signed by Alex. Ta-da, as well.
Okay, this one I also lined up for like insane. This is called The Dark Deep by Ali Condi and Brenda Reichs. And it's a story about a bunch of kids, one of which was, you know, kind of bullied off a cliff. Yeah, that happened. And while that kid's friends come rescue this poor child, they stumble into the dark deep and try to get out. Dun, so dun. It's one of those kind of semi-not portally stories, but it's totally portally in trope, but in execution is child horror film. So
that cover though.
I know this cover. It's again, what is this? It's no, the Goonies meets other thing was in it.
No, that was
yeah. But so again, I cannot wait to read this.
This next one is not going to surprise anyone. I made Macky line up so early for this because I was like, we are not missing this one because we need it in our lives, aka I need it in my life.
2 hours.
My favorite book of last year that was new to me was Warcross by Marie Lu. So obviously I was like, listen, you gotta get Wildcard. If there's anything I really want from BookExpo that I can't get myself, it's Wildcard by Marie Lu. And Macky got it. Like last year, it's signed to both him and me, which is amazing. Warcross, if you didn't know, is basically set in a world where there is this game called Warcross and everyone plays it. Everyone is involved in it. And there is a championship that happens pretty much every year as well. Emika Chen is a hacker and she accidentally hacks herself into the opening ceremony game and earns her the, yeah, no one can do it. Earns her the notice of the CEO of Warcross, Hideo Tanaka, and he hires her in order to figure out who's trying to mess with the Warcross game, so she becomes a player in one of the teams. And she discovers there's like way more to the
conspiracy than whatever.
So. And this is obviously what happens next. I'm literally dying. This is probably going to be the first thing I read, I'm not going to lie.
I saw Kristen from Super Space Chicks Instagram, and she's like, this is totally the first book I'm going to read. And I was like, I'm not too surprised in the slightest.
We both love that book so much.
Yeah. So dialing that down a notch,
No, I'm really excited about this one too.
Yeah, but it's not Wildcard levels, but it is something worth talking about. It's called Seafire, basically, and it's about a crew of seafaring women, basically. On the back of the sea, who do we trust? Our sisters. When our ship falters, who do we trust? Our sisters. In a storm of bullets, who do we trust? Our sisters. We fight together or not at all. See, my entire life, I've always been the honorary girl. And that is a whole universe of confusing, but it's great. And so this reminds me of like good old days. Actually, that they're not good old days. I'm still one of the girls. Who am I kidding?
I know, right?
And so this is like, oh yeah, sure. I'll probably be the only. Maybe in this role, I'd be the only dude on the ship. Who knows? And
now we come to a special section of the things we want to read really soon.
This is what made me personally feel like I won BEA. Yeah, personally,
I am very excited about this, but Macky and I have a very, very deep love for Rick Riordan and everything he has done.
It was he looked for writers, specifically writers who are directly
intimately familiar with, on a personal level, these mythologies and cultural nuances.
Right, and had them write their own stories, the way he did for Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology.
And Roman.
And Roman.
Back to the topic on hand.
Back to the topic on hand. And so you walk into BookCon, and then you see this giant, kind of poster,
banner,
the giant banner that says, more myths, thank the gods, or something like that. And you have Arisha.
So clever.
Which is already out.
Yes.
You have Stormrunner, which is going to be coming out in September. And there's a third book that's called Dragon Pearl, which I thought was coming out in 2019. Aw, it's going to take a while. And no news at all that they were going to, feature the book or whatever. Because right now, they're promoting, I want to say Stormrunner,
yes.
Right? And so there I am wandering around, freaking out with my schedules and trying to make sure I get all of the books. When out of nowhere, in my aimless wanderings by the Disney Hyperion booth, this book should drop.
It's Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee. This is the book that is based on Korean mythology. It's actually different from the other two because it is set in space.
I know, and and that's the other thing too. I saw the spaceship on the poster, and so there I am wandering aimlessly, and I literally did a huge double take, kind of just like literally new, and I just had to almost can I just the lady's like, yeah, you should do it, and I even got this as part of the deal. It's the Magnus Chase, the Nine from the Nine Worlds. It's like a companion to Magnus Chase, which is a series that's already done with its trilogy. And we haven't finished it either. But it's just lovely to have that there.
I didn't know he was going to have a new book.
I didn't know that either. And so to see both Dragon Pearl and this drop, it's so sneaky, Disney. I could have been anywhere, and then but I was there, and it was gone in like 5 minutes.
Well, understandably so.
I just went to the bathroom and I came back and then it was gone because I had to say hi to a friend. Hi, Cassie! Anyway, and that caps off our BEA 2018 BookCon 2018 experience. And it's been
Can't
really
wait to do it again.
Oh, God,
this time I'm going to
year.
actually take time off so I can be there, so. Party! Alright, see you guys in the next one!